Happy Friday, Team Red Tigers. I hope that you're super excited that you made it to the end of your first week of middle school. Regardless of getting lost and lock troubles, you made it. So take a minute, just feel that pride and be really excited that you're heading into your first weekend as an official middle schooler. Today we wanted to kick off our independent reading. Hopefully, you're starting to see a theme that we think reading really is one of the most important things we could do this year to grow and develop our brains. I can't help myself, and I'm a cheesy English teacher. I also thought I'd start with this joke. What's a dinosaur's favorite text? A thesaurus. I know, I'm sorry, but it's Friday, so hopefully you at least rolled your eyes or something. Because today we're talking about your favorite texts. And maybe some of you like to use a thesaurus. I sure do. But that was just me trying to be a little cheesy. You're like, you succeeded. Thank you. All right, now I'll move on to more serious stuff. Why is reading so important? Why are we going to keep talking to you about reading over and over again? Well, there's a lot of science that shows us reading's really important. And I just picked a couple of facts because I could go on and on and on. So, one thing reading does is it can reduce your stress. Who doesn't need that? So, just 6 minutes a day can reduce almost 70% of your stress. And I think that's something to really consider. Here's another fact. Reading for 20 minutes a day means you'll almost read 2 million words in a year. One of the ways our brains develop is through word acquisition, language acquisition, vocabulary acquisition. So the more we read, the more words we learn. Reading before bed has been scientifically proven to help you sleep better. Having a hard time getting to sleep? I suggest reading. And no, not just because I'm an English teacher. Some of you are suspect about that. Reading fiction has been proven to make you a better decision maker. Talk about some science there. And I think this is probably one of my favorite reasons to read, because reading can open our minds to new ideas and different perspectives. These are just some of the scientific facts that support reading being important. I really want you to consider, are there any of these that kind of speak to you? Or, what kind of research can we do further this year so that you find, why you're excited to read, maybe scientifically or about your brain? So why all this time? Why all this focus? Why is she sharing with me brain science? Well, we feel so strongly about the importance of reading and what it can do for us as learners that that's really the only thing we are going to assign as homework this year. Of course, if there's something you don't finish in class, you'll have to finish it, either in rotation or the conference period or at home. But we're not going to assign homework other than this. No official homework other than reading. Our request is that you're going to read for 20 minutes 5 times a week. Why 5? Why not 7? Because we also know life happens, right? You might have soccer practice. I don't know, your younger or older sibling might not feel great the day before. You might not always have that time. We'd love if you read 7 times a week. We just wanted to let you know through this request that we're kind of trying to be a little reasonable. Because if you do this, this will be really great for your brain. But it'll also help you not maybe stress out that you have to do it 7 days a week. In order for us to track that you're reading, we're going to have you complete a weekly reading response. So it's about a paragraph once a week. You can complete it any day of the week as long as you complete it by the end of the school day on Fridays. It's going to be in a digital notebook, so you're going to be typing this particular assignment. And then we're going to repeat this for each week of the school year. And again, this is the only homework we're planning this year. So that's why we're taking so much time to explain it and take questions about it, and we'll continue to talk about it next week as well. Okay, so that's all well and good. I have to read. I have to read for a certain amount of time, and she's going to make me write about it. Got it. But how do you go about finding a book that's just right for you? Something that you're going to enjoy, but it's also going to challenge you. So we just want to give you a couple of reminders because we know you come from elementary school with a ton of tools that you can use as a learner to help you find a good book. But it's been a long summer and a long year, so we just want to dust off some of those cobwebs. The reason we even talk about this is because after a lot of teaching middle school, we kind of saw some patterns, right? Some people choose books because, I don't know, they like the way the cover looked. Some people, saw the movie, so they think they might like the book. But these aren't always the best ways to choose a book, and then sometimes we end up with unhappy readers. Nothing worse than an unhappy reader. Okay, that's not true. Something that's worse than an unhappy reader is a hungry reader. I think reading and snacking should go hand in hand. But anyway, so we wanted to kind of remind you of some of these tools. And you might be thinking as we go through them, like, oh yeah, I already got that. Then great. You're off to a great start to select your text, your book, and get started reading. So a just right book. I wanted to put this here so we all have like the same understanding of what a just right book is. It should be a little bit of a challenge. Shouldn't be super easy or something you could read, in 30 minutes. It has to be interesting to you because if it's not interesting to you, again, you're going to be cranky and no one wants that. We want to make you happy. We want you to come back, not just because you have to. So we got to find what interests you. And last, maybe it needs a little bit of assistance. Not a whole ton, but maybe you have to ask someone how to pronounce something. Or maybe there's an event or a name that you have to look up. Or maybe you need to reference a map to really understand what's happening. And those are the things in your books that are making your brain work, that are making, the science happen. So this is kind of what we want to just pause here and look at this definition. It's simple, but it's important. So a bit of a challenge, interesting, and a little bit of assistance. In addition, you can ask yourself these questions, and I kind of like the idea of this being the Goldilocks strategy. So is it too hard? Is it just right? Is it too easy? If you haven't read Goldilocks and the Three Bears, you should make yourself some porridge and get to that. Is it too hard? Do you start reading and you have to define every single word on the page? You have no idea how to pronounce everything. It's confusing. If you tried reading it out loud, it would be choppy. You would have to keep rereading and pausing. And can you maybe like not get the time, for someone to help you with the book that you need, whether it's me or people at home? Is it too easy? Have you read it lots of times before? Like, don't make me email fifth grade teachers about whether or not you've read this book 75 times. You think I won't? Oh, I will. Do you understand the story? Do you know almost every word? Can you read it smoothly? Can you read it too quick? Is it something you almost have like the pages memorized and as you're reading, you kind of like are glossing over? So too hard, too easy. None of that's going to make our brain work out the way we want it to. Too easy, our brain's not getting a workout. Too hard, we're exhausted and we don't even make it, to 2 push-ups. Just right is where we want to hit. Is the book new to you? I know it's a challenge and you can totally reread, but let's start with new books and then we can always go back and reread. Do you understand a lot of the book? Maybe there's some things but for the most part, you're like, okay, I could tell someone what's happening in this story. And are there just a few words you don't know? Because that's okay. We're learning. I look up words when I read. So pause here and look over these 3 steps and think, do I have a strategy like this? Or is this something I could start applying? So just pause, think about these three things to ask yourself. Too hard, too easy, or is it just right? And that's what we want to look for. That's our target, the just right books. And why are we doing this? Why are we spending so much time on this? Because the only homework we want to give you this year is reading. We're going to build in time during the week for you to complete your weekly reading responses too. So the only thing we're asking you to do at home is to make the time 20 minutes 5 times a week to do your independent reading. We suggest you come up with maybe a consistent area, like maybe if you're going to read before bed, as long as you don't, fall asleep in your book and you constantly can't remember. I don't know who that happens to. Um, maybe you have a comfy couch you like, or a chair, or I don't know, a beanbag somewhere, or some squishmallow pile that you like to read on. You might want to make it consistent, and then that's kind of like your 20 minutes. No one talks to you, you're not doing homework, you're not texting, you're just getting in your 20 minutes, and then you can carry on. Some people like to set a timer. Some people like to have people at home set timers. So those are all things you can consider. But I wanted to remind you again, why are we doing this? Why are we spending so much time on this? Because this is going to be our only ELA homework for the year. At this point, I hope you're thinking to yourself, wow, what, am I reading a book right now? Do I need to read a book? Oh, she's not going to let me reread to start. So, hopefully your brain is starting to turn and you're starting to think of questions like, well, do graphic novels count? Do audiobooks count? Do comic books count? What about nonfiction articles? Yes, they all count. We want you to read and we want you to find what you enjoy reading. So if you're thinking that something you're going to pick doesn't count, just talk to us. More than likely, we can work it out. And I feel really strongly about this, and that's why I put the T-Rex here, the real T-Rex, not the little orange one that's so adorable. Your reading response journal is going to be digital this year. You're going to get 101 reading response prompts, and you get to choose every week which one you want to use. Lots of options. We're not looking for super long writing. We think about a paragraph, which we know you're going to ask, so it's roughly 7 sentences. And textual evidence means you take a sentence from the book. We'll go over that more in depth. And the reason we're going to do this is it just helps us think about what we're reading. And then it lets us as teachers get to know you a little bit, get to have a conversation, get to find the really good books that we need to read. We've already set up your reading response journal for the entire year, including when there are breaks. This is linked, so you'll be able to click like, oh, September 20th to 24th, let me click slide 4. It's going to bring you here where you'll put the title of your text, your author, and your reading response. Pretty simple, and you get to choose from 101 options. And we don't have that many weeks in the year. So you're going to definitely get to choose the ones that kind of speak to you based on the book you're reading. Just quickly show you, some options that you're going to have in your reading response journal. You can just take a quick look. I like number 75 a lot. How would the story be different if it was told from a different character's point of view, from a narrator, in a different time period? Anyway, you'll be able to check those out at your own time. Again, as we wrap up, I just want to remind you that the goal of today was to review independent reading because that's going to be our nightly homework for ELA. And we wanted to get you some tools, some tricks to start thinking about it. We're going to be asking you to have an independent reading book by next Wednesday, 9/22. You don't have to write it down. Don't worry. I'm going to send an announcement in Canvas. But we want you to start thinking because some of you might need to start looking on your bookshelves or how am I going to go to the library or do I like reading on a device? Am I going to get a title that way? Reach out to us if you have any questions about resources because we'd love to help you get books. And to finish up today, we would love to get to know more about you as a reader. I know we got a little bit the other day when we asked you for your hardest part and your easiest part about reading on our pink and yellow post-its, but this survey we're going to give you today is going to get a little more in depth. What we've done is we've given sentence starters, and then we're going to ask you to kind of complete the sentence with your thoughts about reading. So I'm going to give you an example right here. How do you decide what book to read next? Recommendation from a peer? Do you like to read online or electronically? To be successful reading at home, it helps when what? When it's quiet, when you listen to classical music, when there's lots of bright lights. To be successful reading at school, it helps when, we want you to answer that. We're asking for some top 5 books you like, if you have any questions for us, and I would love to hear your favorite jokes about dinosaurs. Learned a lot about our independent reading expectations for this year, and we hope you're just excited as we are to dig in and start reading. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all on Monday.